Actually, I remember that whole day really, really well. It was a day that was, I knew the announcements were being made, and I knew I'd made the top 100. And you know that sort of feeling of like you've made it this far and you kind of don't want to let yourself think that it's going to take this other step because you're sort of grappling with disappointment, or at least the possibility of disappointment. The whole day I went out of my way to just sort of be as centered and calm as I possibly could. So I kind of did a bunch of New York things that are very sort of about that. Like I went to another writer's reading. I made sure that I was writing for at least 3 hours that day, just something to get my head out of all the anxiety. And when you guys called me, I was away from my phone. I heard the message. I came back. It was from Ayla. As soon as I heard it, I obviously started thinking very good things right away. But even then, I didn't let myself think this was actually going to happen. When I finally got a hold of you guys and you told me that I had won, it was thrilling. But there was a weird way in which, because I'd spent so much time trying to relax that day, the moment of hearing it felt a little kind of otherworldly, meaning that I tried so hard to relax that the act of like getting myself excited about it felt like I had to sort of just completely change gears. And I remember this. You heard it on the phone. I hadn't spoken to anyone in 6 hours at the time I got the phone call. So I felt like the first impression you guys were getting of me was the most laconic impression of Ed that I've ever given to another person. Only like 20 minutes after I got off the phone with you guys, I think it really, really hit me. And of course, I was thrilled, and knowing that I was coming here, and knowing the circumstances under which I was coming here, it just has made my month, made my year. There were a couple of things that were relevant to the subject matter that I've been studying for a long time, and then also just sort of circumstantial stuff that had to do with looking for a project. For the last year, I've been planning on sort of making a little transition in terms of the material that I was writing. I'd been a features guy to begin with, and for a long time, I was really sort of doing short stuff, mostly for online distribution. But I think I, like almost everybody who started doing features about 10 years ago, started thinking much more seriously about television, about original pilots specifically. There were two shows that I was watching that I was thinking about particularly when I came up with the idea for this show. And there were contemporaneous shows, and sort of strangely, it feels like that observation doesn't get made all that often. The two of them, the most obvious one is Downton Abbey. But the other one is Boardwalk Empire. And Boardwalk Empire, and there are shows that are set at approximately the same time. But one of the things that appealed to me about kind of watching them side by side is that tonally they're so completely different from each other, even though they might even make historical references that are contemporaneous. What I liked about this idea was it incorporated kind of an aesthetic that I thought would be pretty easy for people to see if they'd watched Downton Abbey at all. But I wanted to inject it with the same kind of anxiety and tension that exists in Boardwalk Empire. One of the things I love about that show is that you always know that it's got this end point. That Prohibition is going to end, and these historical figures that you're finding are going to become the figures that we all know about at some point in the near future. I felt like Weimar incorporated that pretty easily, but with a level of tension that when I really realized it, I felt like it was just sort of irresistible. There was no way I wasn't going to write it. It's about Jewish industrialists, and it's Jewish industrialists right at the end of the old German Empire under the Kaiser. I felt like it would be relatively simple to create dramatic scenarios that the audience would be invested in part because they would know so much more about the fate of these characters than the characters themselves knew. Yeah. So every moment that could exist within a series like that would be one that's kind of overlaid with a sense of anxiety. Even the really high points, the points that the characters feel like they're at their most optimistic, are ones that are tempered by the knowledge that some of these people are going to die, but we don't know who, we don't know what the circumstances are, and we don't know what their fate's going to be after all of this is washed away and disappears. And there was something about that just essential dramatic setup that I kind of felt like I had to write a show like this, and so I did. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be at a major film festival like this and to have something to talk about this way. I think the event itself is, a tremendous thrill because it's as though all of the events of the film festival are gravy in that you can truly relax and enjoy them and feel sort of much more yourself in every interaction that you have, in part because whatever anxious part of you that would otherwise go into these personal interactions is alleviated by the knowledge that you're going to watch a performance of your own work, and you know that you're here for a purpose. And the beauty of the table read is that it's both incredibly flattering to have people read your words in front of you, but it also gives you a really clear sense of what the next step you're supposed to take is, which is to watch it and internalize the way that it read and see the things that are working and see the things that still need to be perfected, and to really kind of put your focus on the work instead of purely on the networking aspect of it, which is often something I think comes along with a film festival if you don't have something like this that's happening simultaneously. So that's been the greatest change, a sort of focus that comes along with work. Well, there's the work that I know I have to do next that has to do with working on this pilot, but there's also there's the sort of sense of total encouragement that comes along with being just validated by the fact that people have read your work and they felt like they were moved by it, or they understood it well enough that they felt like it was worthwhile to both choose and then to perform in this way. The overall takeaway, I think, has much more to do with Table Read than it has to do with the festival itself. It's tremendously encouraging, and I have other projects that I feel much more confident about approaching with a sense that they can be realized the way that I want them to. And well, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything more that you could ask from any experience, really, if you're an artist, than to feel as though you're getting through to an audience and it's being understood and it's being, kind of reflected back to you in this really positive way. The big wish that I have is that one of these projects, Weimar or one of the others, Secret and Confidential, to which I feel very, very close, and I'm really, thrilled that one got recognized also, is to have them attract enough attention to exist in the world. That's ultimately what any writer really wants, is to have them realized in this other way. And taking a big first step like this and seeing it recognized by actors, that is certainly very encouraging in that way.